everyone. Welcome to Fashion Decipher. My name is Sean Williams, and this episode we'll be speaking to a very good friend of mine. Love her, love her, love her, Miss Corinne Epstein. Hi, Corinne.
Hi, Sean.
How is everything?
I'm very happy to be here with you tonight.
Yay.
Everything's great.
That's good. And for my audience, Corinne she has such a detailed background in children's wear. And, we're going to explore the luxury children's wear market. So Corinne, if you just want to give some of the listeners, a little intro into who you are and what your background is.
So I have always been artistic and creative from, as long back as I could remember. Mm-hmm. And I always loved clothing and I always loved children. Those three things have remained constant in my entire life till today. And Sean knows that if she ever sees me near a child, I just absolutely melt. Yeah. And how my future started to unfold was when I was 11 and my brother was 13 and we were preparing for my brother's bar mitzvah. I was so frustrated in shopping for a dress as an 11-year-old girl in that awkward, gawky stage, right, with braces and skinny and just not really having a lot to choose from. I actually went to my room and I started sketching dresses. Oh. Now, I should give you a little background is that growing up, my father worked in the garment center. My father was a blue collar worker and he was a pattern maker grader. He punched a clock. He worked really hard. He was very much, made in America. And my mother also was creative and she sewed. So she was a big seamstress person and she actually would make a lot of my clothes and we would do that mother-daughter thing. Aww. And sometimes it was cute, sometimes it was a little hokey. So when I presented to my parents what I was looking for in a dress, I walked into where they were in the living room and I gave them these sketches and they both just freaked out and they went, look at this. And to me, it was nothing. I was just trying to express myself, but I had never drawn clothes before. Right. So that sort of parlayed me into feeling that, there was a void of clothing for, I was still a child and just expressing yourself in where I was coming from at that age. Right. And what would make me happy. And I just couldn't find it. So that's how that whole thing began. And I will say my father could not have been more against, my father and my mother could not have been more against what path I chose, because even back then, my father felt that this was not a place, it was not a good future. And my mother, who was a secretary by day, would always say, I think you should just take typing so you'll have something to fall back on. So that was our biggest joke. So right. Growing up in Queens, my college choices were this. Get yourself into a city or state school where you could live at home. Mm-hmm. And that was the end of the discussion. Mm-hmm. So although there was a lot of art schools, FIT was my savior. Right. So I graduated from FIT in 1974, and I majored in children's wear. It was an incredible experience for me. I had no social life. I just worked really hard all the time, and we had no computers, and we drew the models with the 17 heads, so they were really tall, and right. and I grew up inhaling the magic markers and the rubber cement, and it was just an incredible dream. Right. Now when I graduated, it was the time was so different and there was such a need for my craft. Mm-hmm. And I had choices of jobs. I had jobs waiting for me. And I never relented from being in children's wear. I stayed with it for decades. I never tired of it. I loved it. And I just became very well known as a children's wear expert. And I'm grateful that I never even wanted to go into another area.
Right, so. Right. That's interesting. I didn't know. I mean, I didn't know all the stories about your background as well as your parents. That's truly interesting, Corinne. Um, I love that, especially for me, like coming from a creative standpoint. Like I love that. My parents didn't have creative careers. I mean, but they always pushed me in that creative part. But always was like, get a backup job. So I understand that. But I wanted to ask you, like, how do you feel about the rise of luxury children's wear now? Like so many luxury brands like Gucci and Dolce Gabbana and Dior do like children's wear. Like, and I know coming up for me in the 80s, like the place that you went, and I mean, anybody who his parents have shopped in the five boroughs or Delancey Street in Manhattan, if you got like Tickle Me was like a type of brand that you would get from like Lester's. And my mother used to frequent Lester's like on Avenue, I think it's Avenue X and Coney Island Avenue. And that's like where we got all our like clothes at the time in the 80s. So like, what do you think the difference from children's wear then in the 80s and 90s to children's wear now that is all luxury and high end?
Well, I truly think that that is the focus of the future.
Mm-hmm.
And there's a lot of reasons for that, is that any celebrity finds it just to be such an easy arena to just step right into. Even if they didn't think of it themselves, they have people wanting to approaching them and wanting to market them and capitalize on their fame, and it's just a no-brainer. And people are especially now how much COVID has taken over us, everything, that it more and more, I think the day-to-day clothing is so much less important, especially we don't even know what's going on with schools, and a lot of kids are just home. And so gift giving, absolutely. The it's a powerful draw. It's a growing market because celebrity influence, it's like a drug, and the endorsements and the reality shows, and just the self-purchase parent for their child is just trying to show an extension of their wants, of their own wants and their upscale lifestyle. And it's almost like using your children as like getting like a fancy car. It's like and honestly, that's really what it is.
It's like an extra accessory, but it's your child in a way.
Right. It's just like an extension of yourself. But and that's maybe sounding negative, but honestly, one of the reasons why I went into children's wear is because I just felt like if you took anything that was like an adult size and you shrunk it down little, it was automatically adorable.
That is
it
true.
Was just so if you took something, like Gucci or Dolce and Gabbana or Fendi or Dior or whatever, and you just in a classy way, it just becomes so like irresistible and sought after, and no, people don't want ordinary. They'll just hang out like in sweats, and then they'll be like, oh, I have to have like the outfits for like going somewhere or the pictures. And I truly feel that luxury is going to grow, and that the rest of the market is just going to keep shrinking.
I think that's a great point. I mean, because, the whole thing with children's wear, like you said about parents, feel that their children in all areas and aspects, feel that they're an extension of who they are. And, so many working professionals have kids later in life. So they, most times they're already established in their fields of their choice, and they have the extra money to spend on luxury items. So like you said, it's like a no-brainer. If they can afford the Louboutin shoes for themselves, why not get the Gucci shoes for the kids, the loafers, so that totally is that same aspect. And, you have so many social media starlets, who are in the fields, like Kim Kardashian, her daughter dressed her daughter Northwest, she dressed her in a Balmain, and even Northwest landed her first solo cover in 2018 for a visual concept.
5 years old.
Right, 5 years old. They were talking about like Gen Z and post millennials, born between 1990 and the early 2000s. So it's so funny, like how much this has changed and how much digital marketing has helped the mini starlets, in this field. How do you feel social media has changed children's wear from your time to now?
It's gone from like 0 to a million. It's absolutely the coverage. It's just unbelievable. Like how many followers you would have on Instagram, and celebrity pregnancies are so much in the spotlight, and the
Yeah.
expectation of the birth, and then the how many mothers, celebrity mothers just been like, you know what, I could do a layette line. It would just be like so easy, or people are approaching them. So even from before birth, it's like it's already there. It's the footprint is just being created, and the paparazzi, it's like every single photograph that's taken is scrutinized and exploited, and it results in huge following, and everybody
Right.
wants that. And where it used to be like maybe you would have wanted like 10 pairs of Old Navy shoes versus like one pair of designer shoes, but now everyone wants one pair of designer shoes and
Shoes.
forget the Old Navy. They can wear flip-flops or something. They don't care.
And it's true. It's so funny because all the way up until this June during quarantine, Harper's Bazaar even did an online story about Northwest, and they listed like all the times Northwest dressed better than you as an adult. Which is hilarious to me, but it really shows North like posing with Kim or just going about their daily activities, and they're kind of like matched up and synced, like you were saying, like an extension of who they are. What do you think about Cardi B's rapper boyfriend, Offset, gifting their 2-year-old daughter a Birkin bag, which retails for like $8,000?
I think that it is insane. I mean, it's just like media hype. It's like, but come on, where's this kid gonna go from here? It's just, I think that's just it's just a little bit exploiting. It's just it's a little too much.
Right.
Okay, maybe if it was like her 16th birthday or something like that, but
Right.
not at that age. Like, come on, no.
I mean, some could say, hey, that's a start of an investment for her. Because, Birkin bags, they increased in value alone in 2019, like 13%. There's not a lot of luxury items that increase that high. Birkin
Yeah.
bags have is like a whole set of rules to them. Even,
But like, what happened to Little Tyke's toys? It's like now it's crazy.
it
But
is.
I'm sure it boosted sales.
Yeah. It's the hype, social media, it's the posting. I mean, even Drake. I don't know if you know that Drake revealed in like a Hollywood Reporter article back in 2017 that he's been collecting Hermes Birkin bags for his future wife, whoever he ends up with.
No.
And it was like literally like he showed his apartment and condo in Toronto, or no, actually his house. And it shows like a sneak peek of the closet that he built for his future wife, and there's like a million Birkin bags in there. All types of leathers and all types of things.
It's like King Tut's tomb. That's crazy. That's insane. No, I did not know. I did.
Yeah, it's you definitely take a look at that. It's definitely interesting. So I will ask this, like, what do you think about so many people who have like they call it eco anxiety around their children, having so many clothes and having excess clothes that they grow out of so fast? Like, do you believe like there's a good resale market? Like, I know resale markets right now are so big, consignment shops and,
Yes.
stuff of that nature. Do you think there's a good resale market for children's clothes?
Yes, I do. As long as they're in good condition, absolutely. For sure. It's like those, like when you, it's Rent a Runway,
Yes.
like you want, like someone could even do that. Like, yes, I absolutely do. Buying clothing like this, of this caliber, and treating it well will have resale value.
See, that's good to know. And I think that's a good way. So people don't have to feel like I'm being wasteful, or, they feel that they are people who are pro sustainability. They can definitely look into that. They said that that's a growing field anyway. Also too, like, what do you think, Corinne, about people who believe that, children influencers on social media because their parents post them all the time, whether it's on YouTube or Instagram or Facebook, and they do like activities that's beyond the normal. You had talked about like, Tyke toys. What do you feel about them not feeling like children? Like they were saying that there's a difference between like children actors who knew that they were playing make-believe, but these children are actually living their lives.
Okay, well, I think there's a difference with children actors, because children actors they would have the passion and the drive within themselves. Maybe they have parents who were actors themselves, and maybe they push them along a little bit. But if you are really a child actor, it's because you have that burning drive to be a child actor, or an
Right.
actor. You're a child and you're going to start that way. But when parents do this whole dream world for a child, to me it's like using them as like a pawn, and it's like it scares me a little bit what it's going to be like when they get older, because they're
Right.
going to be so affected, and in a superficial way. It's different than if you're an actor, because
Right.
you have talent. But if your parents are going to dress you up in all this mini couture stuff, and you're a few years old, and then like, where do you go from there?
It's like
It's going to
living in
be,
a fishbowl, right? As they
yeah.
say.
I mean, are you going to be like bulimic because you can't gain an ounce, and you're never going to have like macaroni and cheese in your life? It's like I think that it's robbing them of their childhood when they were never given a choice, because they don't know the difference. An
Right.
actor makes a conscious choice. Like
Decision
if
to
you,
do so.
you want to be like an ice skater, and you want to get up and train like 5 o'clock in the morning, like no parent's going to make a child do that. So it bothers me a little bit that that maybe some of these children, like Northwest, is going to really, it's never going to be enough. If you're going to be like this on a magazine cover at 5 years old, what are you going to want when you're 15?
Right. Kind of like those like Sweet 16 parties they would have on MTV for all the celebrity children.
Right. And
Yeah.
where do you go from there? Really. So that bothers me a little bit. I mean, it could be like really cute photo sessions, but what are you doing to the child?
Like every day, like living on Instagram and making posts. Yeah, that's a valid point, What I will ask you this though, getting back to your career, what made you, after so many years of working with other firms, and I know you worked with like various names of fashion houses, what made you strike out on your own, and what were some of the fashion houses you worked with when you were doing children's clothes?
Well, I did a long stint with Izod Lacoste, and being a little bit more on the conservative side back then, but in children's wear, like, it was much like looser, and it was a sought after label, and and it was very exciting to me, because I started with them in the larger children's sizes, and then we kept getting like going lower and lower. My actual particular love is more like baby and infant and toddler, because again, it's gift giving, it's grandma bait, it's just everything is just so cute. So Izod was a great introduction for me, because just being international, and this the whole traveling, and I really got into it. So that was more of my like conservative life. And then the most funky part that I've ever done, as you know well, is that my years with Betsy Johnson.
Right.
That was like a dream come true for me. Betsy Johnson actually was the celebrity guest at my FIT graduation, and I will never forget how, like, she showed up in a bunny suit and a baby carriage, and she was just so Betsy, and she's still so Betsy. So when the idea came up about maybe doing Betsy Johnson kids clothes, which she never did, and then I got to be part of the meeting, and I was with like the head of the company that I worked for, and then she came with like her lawyer and her business partner, and I had been sent to Europe to come up with how I envisioned Betsy's children wear to look like, and I gave this presentation, and when I finished giving the presentation, Betsy said, I will sign an agreement to license myself to children's wear only if I can work with Corinne exclusively.
Oh,
Well,
that's amazing.
that was probably the highlight of my entire career.
Oh, wow.
And I had other responsibilities at the time. Like I had like a big business going with Target, with private labels, and we kept all that from Betsy, that I would fly to Minneapolis every week, but I would work with Betsy like 1 or 2 days a week, and she was so incredibly, like fun and creative, but she knew nothing about children's wear. So we tried to do mini versions of her iconic prints and go through her libraries and try to, have that like rock and roll, like, craziness. And to be honest with you, it was incredible fun, but it really didn't work out financially. It was great PR, but I just guess it just wasn't the right place and time. And, but it was just a fun experience. What we should have done in retrospect was, instead of going for the department stores, we honestly should have like gone to Target and did some kind of great line. And I think it would have gone better. So, you learn that there are niches, and that in the mass market, it's, if you have something that people want, you're going to sell like, narrow and deep, as they always said. And that was really where the money was. But from a creative standpoint, working with Betsy was absolutely the best for me. And it was just like so much fun, and to just take her ideas and try to cull them down into something that, was palatable for children's wear. And I still think like it's viable. It's just a matter of the execution
to getting it done. And it's so funny, you're right, because look how great Target is now with all these like designer collaborations.
Yes.
I think she definitely would have been part of leading the pack outside of Halston and JCPenney's way back in the day. If she had decided to do it when you guys were paired together.
I agree. But, we made the wrong choice.
I mean, it happens, but like you said, there's still a market for it. But what made you decide to create your own consulting firm?
I'm sorry. I got off on a tangent.
No, it's fine.
So it's twofold. First of all, part of it's personal, but I'll share that with you so you understand that my husband was sick and passed away in 2008, very sadly. And 2008 was the crash of life as we knew it. And this was happening simultaneously, where the garment center was really hit heavy. And I was now a widow with 2 young teenagers. And while I continued to work, my situation was very stressful, and I was used to being on a plane every week and having like live-in help for my children and having like the support of my husband. And I really didn't have that. So I had to keep scaling back, not being able to travel as much, not being available as much, family emergencies. And it would just became harder and harder, but I really persevered. And then it got to a point where the garment center was just getting worse and worse. And, people were cutting back and cutting salaries, and people were just like not really able to afford what I had been making as like a package, because it was a lot of money and it was a lot of expense. And so then it became apparent that it was, my expertise was very much wanted, but it was wanted more on a seasonal basis, or a consignment basis, or a consulting basis. And so what I was finding was, rather than trying to employ myself full time and getting the benefits that I needed for my children and so on, that I found that if I tried to just, go out on my own, because I was very well known in children's wear, that people were still seeking me out and saying, could you come and like critique our line, and like we'll pay you for X amount and do it for the season, or do this. And so that's how it came to be. So I needed to, come up with a name and just be able to do that. Like, that was my accountant told me to do that. And so I didn't have problems getting getting situations, you know, but the world had changed,
Right.
and I just was not going to be able to have people like really want me, or not want me, be able to afford me on a 24/7 kind of situation. So I had to reinvent myself, and it kept getting like, you know, harder and harder as time went on, as the economy had issues, and my personal life, you know, the needs of my children, etc., you know, had issues. And really, but I was able to keep this going like for years. And even just doing phone conversations, and just people picking my brain and paying me an awful lot of money, like per hour, it was it just worked. So it wasn't anything that I had ever wanted. If you know, it wasn't like I wanted to be an entrepreneur. I did it to keep a roof over my kids' heads and to just keep myself going and hoping that life was going to change. And unfortunately, I just saw a decline and keep seeing more of a decline in the garment center. And COVID, I just think, is like the last like nail in the coffin.
Yeah. I mean, what do you think about that? I mean, I will say this to your situation. I mean, life has a way of always doing that, just turning everything upside down. But it also shows how strong you are. I mean, I know a lot of times people say there's strength in the struggle, but sometimes I don't want to struggle. And I
Yeah.
understand, though, it's good. I mean, you do see your, abilities, when you come out from the other side of that. But I will say, like you did mention the garment district, decline. Like, what do you think about it? I mean, coming from someone who went to FIT as well as I did, like working in the garment district, what do you think about it not being a hub? I know the mayor now, de Blasio, made plans to move most of it to Red Hook, Brooklyn. But I know a lot of critics felt that it kind of disperses it. The whole point of the garment district is because it was this centralized hub that you can walk to several different areas like mood fabrics and, different points as reference. And also you would go down the street and you would see like the guys pushing the rolling racks of clothes. It's just what you've seen in that area. Like, what do you think about them breaking it up the way that they are?
Well, I think it's very sad. I'll
Mm-hmm.
relate it to if someone decided, you know what, we're going to take the Diamond District on 47th Street and we're going to break it up and put it all different places. It's going to lose its impact and its notoriety, and that's the same thing that's to me at the Garment Center. It
Mm-hmm.
was those blocks, and I'd been in it, for so many decades, and it was just like that's what we were. It was just the trimming stores and the sample sales,
Right.
and I would wheel those rolling racks myself, and from the showroom to the warehouse, or I would be going like fabric shopping and going from fabric house to fabric house with swatches and being excited and going button shopping, and it was just everything was right there. And especially in children's wear, there were those couple of blocks like 112 West 34th Street, and then there was the Childrenswear Center. And I spent decades like working on one block. And when I walk down the street, and even now, it's just like you could just feel it. And I'm sad. I'm very sad, but I'm very thankful that I was there to ride the wave and just have all that experience, good or bad, that will never be again. And I look at it like, when we used to have cameras we'd have to go buy film and put the film in and take pictures and then bring the film to be developed. And all that is so obsolete. And now everything is just changing. So many aspects of the world are changing, and I don't care what you want to do in red, it's like it's not going to be the same.
Right.
It's no matter what you do, and people are leaving Manhattan and trying to resituate themselves in boroughs, and it's just destroying the mecca of, like, let's say you're a buyer and you want to go to a bunch of different showrooms in one day. You can't do that. It just destroys the whole fabric, no pun, of like what the garment center like was and should be.
Right, right. I mean, also too, like that also ties to what you're saying about, being a centralized place for the garment district. Also too, what do you feel about like the fashion shows? By it not having a centralized place because it was no longer in Bryant Park, then it was moved to Lincoln Center, then it wasn't there anymore. Then it was like spread all over the city. Like you can go to like half was in like West Side Highway. And then there was another portion of it in Midtown. It was not like a centralized place
No,
anymore. You think
it
it
just
lost
ruins it.
its magic too?
It totally,
Hmm.
totally. The thrill of going to those fashion shows, or to be invited to get a ticket and to just feel all the excitement in the air and the paparazzi and like, what are you going to wear and what are going to be the gift takeaways and who are you going to see? It
Right.
was just, I loved Bryant Park. That
Hmm.
was fantastic.
Oh,
So it's sad. Again, it's just like a dying art. Like so many things are dying, and I don't know how this will ever, be able to be revitalized.
right. So yeah, with that being said, like Corinne, where do you think that children's wear will be going in the future? Just, even with everything like you were mentioning between COVID, between the moving of the garment district, between the way fashion shows are presented. I mean, also there's a large portion of them being presented in downtown LA. That's like a whole nother story though. But where do you think that children's wear is going? Like where do you see it going? Even if it's just digital, where do you think that it might be going in the future?
Well, I think it's going to get more and more luxury
Hmm.
and celebrity, identified, and that's going to be the main focus. I think that is what people are going to find like as their happy thing, and they're going to see it on Instagram, or they're going to, see it in a magazine, and that's what people are going to want. As far as shopping, there's going to be much less shopping in stores. You mentioned Denny's, yeah, like unless I think you mentioned Lester's.
Lester's, yeah.
But like those stores and all that, I used to go like on Madison Avenue and like start up in the 90s. I think it was Wicker Garden and 96th Street, and I would go all the way down Madison Avenue, for like, miles, and there'd be like a million children's wear stores and very upscale. And like if you go there now, it's like a ghost town.
It
So
is.
it's very, to me, it's very sad. And I just don't see people shopping in stores, so it's going to be online. And again, it's just going to be a very big celebrity slash luxury draw, because that's what's going to get people's attention. If you
Right.
want to, buy like t-shirts and leggings, you're going to have like so much competition, and it's going to be so hard to even figure out something. So I just really feel people are going to gravitate to something that really catches their eye and feels like, oh, I would love to own that. It speaks to me because they can relate to it.
Right. In a way that but you do miss the experience of actually shopping, but you're shopping visually on your phone before actually going, like you were saying, like going to every single store and like
Right.
creating an experience. It's like a different way. It's totally different.
Right.
Yeah.
In so many areas, not just children's wear, but I think that children are not going to half the places that they used to go to, probably
Hmm.
more than half the places. And I don't know when that's going to change. So,
Right.
I mean, like I'll just pull out like of my head, like sleepaway camp.
Hmm.
Sleepaway camp is a huge business for clothing and accessories. It's just massive. I went through it myself with my own kids, and there's no sleepaway camps right now. So
Hmm.
all that is like out the window. College dorm, things, even it's still, within the realm of children's wear. And how many colleges are even having kids in the dorms? So
Right.
I just feel like kids are, they're home a lot more,
Hmm.
and parents are just not going to really want to be spending money on clothes when no one's going to really see their kids. They might not even be going to school. So I just feel like it's the upscale things that are going to get people's attention
and to grab them, to make them buy.
Right.
Right. All right. I definitely, and I really do appreciate, Corinne, that you took the time to speak with us. If people wanted to hire you for your consulting firm, how would they get in touch with you? Do you have some sort of email or website or anything that they can kind of contact you? Any of our listeners who is starting like a children's wear brand and they need to hire a consultor, would you be able to, give any information for them to find you?
Well, the only thing that I have up is my LinkedIn page. Mm-hmm. And I have really not been proactive, in the past bunch of years at this at all. It's still very much a love of mine. And I, in a heartbeat, I wish I could go back in time and just get right on that Long Island Railroad and get out on 34th Street or 33rd Street and just be able to have that world again. Mm-hmm. But I only have the LinkedIn page because I don't really have a lot going on. But mm-hmm. I still very much consider myself a children's wear queen. And I do have a reputation, and there's still a lot of people that I've worked with that I still keep in touch with, but I'm not really being very active right now.
Okay, so if they did want to find you, they can definitely find you on LinkedIn. Her name is Corinne Epstein. They can inbox you. So if they have any questions, they can do that. And I want to say thank you again, Corinne. I really appreciate you being on Fashion Decipher.
It's my pleasure.
All right. Thank you so much, Corinne.
You're welcome. Bye.
Hi guys, it's Sean. Make sure you visit our website, fashiondecipher.com, to get a visual on what we're talking to you about. Check out pics from events, of guest speakers, and exhibits. If you miss anything we post, you can visit our archives page. Also, while you're there, hit that subscribe button, leave your email, and if you like, a comment. Tell us what you think or what you would want to hear on an upcoming episode. Don't forget to follow and friend Fashion Decipher on social media. Check out what we're up to. Speak with you next week.